Gravity. What is it? We all know that it keeps us bound to the Earth and not floating about in space, and that it might as well be the glue that holds everything together in the universe. But what makes gravity, well, gravity? Let's start with a brief history of gravity. Legend has it that Isaac Newton discovered gravity when witnessing an apple falling off of a tree. He realized that some force must be acting on a falling object, like apples, because otherwise they would not start moving from rest. He then went and made several laws concerning gravity. These include 1. Every mass attracts every other mass through the force called gravity. 2. The strength of the gravitational force attracting any two objects is directly proportional to the product of the mass of one object doubling the force of gravity between two objects. And 3. The strength of gravity between two objects decreases with the square of the distance between their centers. Basically, doubling the distance between two objects weakens the force of gravity by a factor of 2 squared, or 4. Einstein furthered the knowledge of gravity with his theories that gravity comes from the warping of space and time. This new theory would prove a number of things that were contrary to Newton's theory, such as light bends when passing near massing objects like the sun, also called gravitational lensing, and a clock raised above the Earth speeds up relative to a clock on the surface. It turns out that gravity is actually the relative weakest of the 4 known forces of nature. However, it is so common that it is in fact considered the strongest, and like we said before, holds the galaxy and universe together. The law of universal gravitation says that every object attracts every other object with the force that, for any two objects, is directly proportional to the mass of each object and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the two objects. What does this mean in English? Basically, gravity is a force of attraction that exists between any two objects. There is a force of gravity that exists between the sun, the earth, and between each of us. There is even a gravitational force between 2 small marbles. However, with gravity being a constant, some recent theories suggest that gravity is and has been changing over time, and that gravitational properties varies in different regions in space. However, the effect of gravity can be cancelled by free fall or by placing objects in orbit, which is where gravitational acceleration comes into play. In terms of gravitational acceleration, Galileo found that it depends only on the mass of the gravitating object and the distance from it. This means that if you were to test if a huge boulder and a marble fell at the same rate, they would. Granted, the boulder is pulled towards the Earth with a greater gravitational force, but it also has the greater resistance to its change in motion than the marble because of their masses, rendering it to fall at the same rate of speed. All in all, gravity is a force of nature not to be reckoned with. It is what keeps the universe together and keeps us from not just drifting around the universe in utter chaos. With it, there is balance and harmony and order in the universe. With evidence like this, it's easy to conclude that gravity is one of the greatest influences on the universe.